And then let's start because the agenda of the day is quite tough. So welcome for the Call 3 info days for the phase 2 of Clean Aviation. We have here in Brussels around 40 participants, and we are expecting up to 400 online. So raising a lot of interest. So first, maybe some guidelines for the meeting of today. We will handle questions and answers through Slido. So please use the link that will be in the next slide with the QR. Maybe, Marin, you can put it also in the chat, the QR, so people have it available online during the session. So you use the Slido QR and you enter your questions during the presentation that we will be giving in the morning. Then in the afternoon, we have also a question and answer slot where we can get questions from the audience here in Brussels. And please, for the people online, in order to handle better the questionings, please use the Slido. Also, the Teams functionalities, the audio, you have been muted for the sake of better audio connection. And please use the Slido and not the chat to address your questions. So the QR is here, so people in the room also can use it if you want to do your questions during the agenda of today. So first in the point of the agenda is the program overview. So I have the pleasure to have with me here Sébastien Dubois, who is the head of unit for the program and strategic development and communications. And he will give you an overview or where we are in terms of program ambition and objectives before we go to more details on the practical aspects. Thank you, Sébastien.
Thank you very much, Maria, and good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to introduce that session. I can use, okay, otherwise I can make it on the computer.
No, it's me then. I can do it, Sébastien.
Okay, go through Marine.
Yes.
So first of all, I'm going to guide you in 15 minutes about the program objective, the program ambition, what is it for, how Call 3 is positioned as compared to the other course that will come later as part of phase 2, and what this is about Call 3 versus, in fact, the former core and the one to come. On the next chart, what you can see is the overall ambition. This is something which is already in the strategic research innovation agenda and which reflects on the ambition of Clean Aviation. Clean Aviation is to support the transition of aviation towards carbon neutrality by 2050. And our objective is to develop the technologies which have the potential to reduce significantly the emissions and to improve the aircraft performance, with the aim on one hand, in fact, to accelerate the transition and the replacement and to support the launch of new product by 2035 in order to produce effect. When you look at that picture, this represents the emission level that will materialize in 2050 if no actions are made and if no improvements are introduced onto the aircraft generation. And if we want to transition towards carbon neutrality by 2050, we need to act on various levels, which is a combination of solutions. On one hand, you have the technology, which is about Clean Aviation, and Clean Aviation is focusing on the maturation and development of future technologies. Then you have the improvements of the operations, which is more or less the optimization of the air traffic management aspects that can deliver as well a contribution in terms of emission of reduction potential. Then you have the big chunk, which is about the use of sustainable aviation fuel that will provide the levers. By sustainable aviation fuel, we mean, in fact, ESAF, but we also include hydrogen as part of it. And then you have the carbon market-based measures. Clean Aviation is focusing on two aircraft segments, which are, in fact, short, medium range and regional aircraft, which accounts for 55% of the emission share as compared to 2019 figures. We are not investigating aircraft concepts related to long-range aircraft. And the ambition, as I said before, is to develop technologies that will use a mix or a combination of various energy sources, either SAF or either electricity through hybrid electric aircraft or either hydrogen.
Cannot be taken out.
On the next chart, what you can see is the way we intend to achieve that ambition in Clean Aviation through the first level, which is the maturation of technologies. First of all, we want to develop technologies which have the potential to contribute to the reduction of 30% of greenhouse gases emissions, which means CO2 and non-CO2. That's why, in fact, in the objectives, we'll be asking the different participants, depending on the project, to report on the CO2 aspects, but also on the non-CO2 ones, which means, in fact, what is the emission reduction potential of NOx, of water, or non-volatile particles, and stuff like that. And this will be assessed and measured as part of project, which will be gathering the different elements at type of concept. The second, which is quite important, is to make sure that all our effort is geared towards maturing up to TRL6 by the end of this decade, in order to be in capacity, if decision is made, to support the launch of new product for entry into service in 2035. So maturity is at stake to remain aligned with this ambition in terms of timeline. But certification readiness level, this is a brand new notion that will be later on explained by EASA, and which is important if we want to support the market uptake. We need to make sure that on maturity level we are on the rendezvous, but on certification aspects we have also implemented the necessary effort. And the last but not the least, we are there as well to support the replacement of the fleet, which is more an implicit objective, but which means that we need to be in capacity as well to produce, to manufacture at the right complexity level in order to be in capacity to replace the fleet by 2050. On the next chart, what you can see is the approach which is pursued by Clean Aviation in phase 2. We issued the revision of the strategic research innovation agenda in July last year, and which serve as a strategic orientation for the activity which are being proposed, yes, in course 3, and which is organized around 4 aircraft concepts. 1 aircraft concept on short medium range aircraft powered by SAF, 1 aircraft concept on ultra efficient regional, which is hybrid electric aircraft, and 2 aircraft concept on hydrogen side, either powered with a fuel cell or with an H2 burn. And that 4 aircraft concept will be the one that will support the maturation, that will serve as a lighthouse to define and support the maturation of the various technologies. Important to mention that in course 3, we are not launching any activities on aircraft concept related to hydrogen, and the amount of effort which is geared to hydrogen as well is quite limited. It's quite limited because we are still awaiting maturation up to TRL4 at the start of the project in order to start the work. And in that field, we are not yet on the rendezvous, explaining why there are limited activities in course 3, but there will be more in course 4. On the next chart, we have the approach which is currently implemented in Clean Aviation. So Clean Aviation, in a nutshell, is a total research effort program of 4 billion euros, of which 1.7 billion is from EU funding, and which is split across 2 phases. What we call the phase 1, which are the projects which are currently running and which will launch across 2 calls. And which aims at maturing the potential of technologies that will align with the aircraft concept which are industrial. And the phase 2, which is the phase where we are right now with the first call, the course 3, and where there will be a total of 5 calls which are currently anticipated, with 2 subsequent calls next year and the year after. The call 3 is for a total of 380 million euros of funding out of roughly 900 million euros of funding available for phase 2. It corresponds to a total research effort of 930 million, which means, in fact, 1.5 times the funding value is invested through in-kind contribution, either in-kind from operation or in-kind from additional activities, and this will be further detailed. And this is the way we end up with 930 million euros as a total research effort. What is important on this timeline as well is what I've explained just before, that we aim at achieving TRL6 by the end of this decade, but also CRL6, which stands for Certification Readiness Level, in order to be on the rendezvous if we want to support the launch of the product in 2035. And the notion of CRL is on the next chart, is something which is brand new, which has been introduced as part of phase 1. and was developed as part of one project called Concerto, which aims at reducing the time to market and to support the market uptake of the various technologies, which with the definition of the different elements which have to be achieved, EASA has published on their website what are the different criteria to meet the various CRF scale. And this is something which is implemented as part of the main stream projects, which are part of this call, and which will serve as a criteria to assess the maturity level and to complement the approach. There will be further explanation given by EASA later on the way to embark on that journey. Now let's transition to a brief description of the topics. It's important to remind that in that call, we have a total number of 10 topics, calling for 11 projects. They are all gathered around the 3 aircraft, so the 3 thrusts, which are part of the 3R, as I've just mentioned before. And here on the field of regional, this is the one where I will start first. So we have in total 4 projects, plus on the right-hand side, what you can see, fast-track mechanism, which are a specific instrument which is launched for the first time as part of this call 3, which aims at accelerating the maturation of technologies which are supporting the demonstration activities, which aims at being implemented in a very short period of time, more or less in 2 years, in order to pass 1 or 2 TRL scale, and which are simplified in terms of approach and which have specificities in terms of coordination of projects. Further details will be given in the course of this presentation. On the fast track areas, we have also an important notion of end users. End users are the parties who are supposed to exploit the results and who are the lead parties in charge of the aircraft concepts. So that's why here this is mentioned 2 elements. One is about working on the battery, on the design and integration of high-performance battery system for an hybrid electric regional aircraft. And the second is about working on advanced concept for reliable power electronics conversion. End users notion is not limited to, is the prime which is given there. If there are other end users which are identified beyond, in fact, the regional aircraft, this is also possible. Another important element is on the top, what we call aircraft integration, aircraft concept integration and impact, which are the umbrella projects, which are there, first of all, to coordinate the various elements which are contributing to one aircraft concept. Secondly, to perform and to monitor the assessment and to monitor the performance of the contributing elements to the aircraft concept, and potentially to support iteration loop and also adjustment in terms of requirements. And thirdly, to make sure that we are on the right path towards our certification readiness level targets and objectives. These are the umbrella projects that will support the impact monitoring process, which is currently in force as part of the Clean Aviation program, in order to report on our objectives and to regularly provide feedback on the performance elements. On top of that, you have 3 other mainstream projects. One on the top, which is called the flight test demonstration of hybrid electric propulsion for regional aircraft, which aims at integrating and preparing the flight test demonstration. Then you have another one, which is the multi-megawatt hybrid electric propulsion system. And you have a third one, which is the electrical distribution, thermal and energy management. So you have a pyramid approach in a nutshell. On the top, you have the aircraft integration project that we coordinate, assess, and perform regular assessment of the performance. You have the 3 contributing projects delivering, in fact, the main bricks that aims at preparing the flight test demonstration that will take place in 2029 and 2030. If you want to learn more about our ambition, you have the Gantt chart in the work program that provide you the full visibility on the integrated approach per thrust. If I go along on SMR, this is the same approach that you will find out. First of all, we have one topic aiming at integrating, coordinating, assessing, and working on certification aspects, which is the aircraft concept, integration, and impact. Then you will have, in fact, 3 other topics in the field of the propulsion concept, calling for ground test, demonstration, and preparation of flight tests of an ultra-high bypass ducted gear turbofan, and the second on inducted engine. So the 2 propulsion concepts will aim at being mature up to TRL5 or TRL6. And then you would have a third topic, which is in the field of electrical distribution and thermal management, to prepare the ground test demonstration of an onboard and non-propulsive energy systems. And the last but not the least, which will be on the hydrogen-powered aircraft, which is on the next chart. Here we have one topic, which is positioned as a fast-track areas, which aims at complementing the works which are currently ongoing in phase 1, and which is about working on the craftworthiness of fuselage integrated LH2 storage solutions, with the aim to pass one TRL step, as I mentioned before. And so this is in a nutshell the summary of the 10 topics which are being proposed for phase 2 for call 3, and where further details will be given along the course of this presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sebastian. So I maybe was very quick with the agenda. So we are planning a coffee break after the forming section. We have the practical information, 25 minutes, then legal aspects, another 25 minutes, and financial aspects, another 20 minutes, and then we will have a short coffee break. And after that, we have EASA involvement plus the question and answer slot where we will go back to the questions that have been gathered through Slido to answer them, and also to take some questions from the audience here in Brussels. So now going to the practical information, practical aspects. If you go to the next slide, we will start with the call overview with the different key dates and topics. So here you have the main timeline that you need to take into account in terms of call closure and submission open. So the call launch is already out from the 20th of February, where all the templates and documents that are necessary are included in the funding and tenders opportunities portal. You will have the link there in the lower part. And then the submission system from the Commission will open the 27th of March. So once you have prepared all the documentation aligned with the templates, you can start the submission as per the 27th of March. The call closure is the 15th of May for the large-scale projects and ACI topics that Sebastian was presented before. And for the fast-track activities, will be closed earlier, the 23rd of April. For any questions, you can address to our functional mailbox that is on the screen. Next slide. So this is a summary of what Sebastian already presented. So the large-scale projects for regional and short-medium range, then the fast-track activities and the aircraft concept and integration projects. Next slide. So based on that, what you will find going into the funding and tenders portal is the different topics as described in this slide, with the different identification code from Horizon Europe. So you see the different clustering that is aligned with the program structure that Sebastian has presented before. So you have to enter in each of these categories to access to the different templates. You have to use the different supporting documents to help you through the preparation of the proposals. Now we are going more in detail for the large-scale projects and ACI topics, what you will find when entering that information and documentation. So here we are focusing on the topic description structure. What is the content, objectives, and conditions that are included as part of the topics for the large scale and ACI. And we are focusing on some specific elements of this topic description that we thought it was important to highlight during this session. Then we will explain also the application form and what is the proposal template structure, and then the rules of submission, evaluation, and selection of proposals during the open call. And finally, we'll go into a presentation what are the evaluation criteria that will be reviewed by the experts in order to evaluate the excellence, impact, and implementation from the different proposals in order to assign the winning proposal funding. So here, this is the content of the topic structure. So all these different elements that you see on the screen are the different topic conditions. So for example, here what we have highlighted is for large scale projects and ACI, there is a duration, an indicative project duration that is going from 60 months to 24 months, depending on the different topics that you are applying for. And for the technology readiness level that is requested for each topic, it ranges from TRL 5 to 6. It's described for each of the topics, what is the specific ones aligned with the objectives that we have for the program. The certification readiness level is also a topic criteria. Is between TRL 4 and 6, depending on the topic and the maturity of the technologies that are requested, and we will describe more later how to consider the CRL also in the assess lot after the coffee break. So we are focusing now in some of these specific bullet points in the next slides. One of them is about the special skills and capabilities expected from the consortium. So first, it's about being able to fulfill the necessary expertise and capabilities to follow the technology development. And also we are asking to add additional expertise that could complement the traditional aeronautical domain in order to cross-fertilizate from other sectors and technologies. Also, when appropriate, it's highly recommended to include newcomers in the field of aeronautics in order to address also more disruptive technologies. So these capabilities also needs to be focused on what is the exploitation and industrial path, because we have to remember in the end, the general objectives from Clean Aviation are focused on the final impact on the program, so 34% reduction of the greenhouse gases emission with the entry into service of 2035. That's why we're including also the CRL concept. So the proposal should include the capabilities, skill, and expertise in order to be able to provide the impact, the expected impact to the aircraft concept. And about the impact, we wanted to highlight this also for call 3. It's already known from some of you have been involved in call 1 and call 2 because it's the same scheme, in order to be able to define the targets for impact and also to monitor the progress of the different technologies and integration in the aircraft concept. There is the continuous monitoring of the exchanges at different levels. The levels are the aircraft concept that will be integrating the different contribution to address the 35% reduction GHG, and then the contributing projects that are giving the subsystem and technology level contribution to this aircraft concept. What we are asking in the different grants in call 1 and call 2, and will be the same for call 3, is that each project needs to address a deliverable with this impact assessment, this impact performance assessment, first with the targets at month 6, and then with yearly monitoring and reporting on the results of the impact assessment. The in-kind contribution will be further explained in the financial part, but just is for our members. So same as call 1, call 2. I'm not going to be very extensive here, but it's for our members to declare contribution 1.5 times the funding for additional activities that are contributing to the clean aviation objectives at project level or program level. In terms of cooperation, as you can see, all these elements around impact requires a high level of cooperation between the different projects. So we have in place the different projects for call 1 and call 2 have already in place a cooperation agreement in order to establish the adequate framework to exchange data between them and being able to create the interfaces in the different cooperation plans that we have in each grant, and to identify the interfaces and interdependencies between the different projects. So for the call 3, the different projects will have to sign also this cooperation agreement, identifying the different elements that are also interdependencies with the call 1, call 2, or between the call 3 projects themselves. So this is the definition of this cooperation plan is expected to have defined by the month 6 of the grant. Then involvement of EASA, it will be further detailed later by Emmanuel, but in a nutshell, each proposal should include a plan on how to include EASA participation. First, they should have a plan to include the certification exploitation route in order to de-risk the different certification aspects for the technologies explored. The scope of work involving EASA should be clearly outlined, along with the corresponding allocation of funding in the proposal when applicable. And the reference to any existing contracts or IPC agreements with EASA should be included in the proposal, because maybe as in your entities you already have some service contract with EASA that are covering some of these aspects and can be reported in the grant. Then if the proposal is successful in passing the evaluation, then during the grant preparation, the formalization of this service contract with EASA, when needed, needs to be finalized. But this is not requested at proposal stage. What is important is that you include already the activities funding that is expected to be allocated to EASA when applicable. And now we are going more to the application form and the structure. So it's the classical Horizon Europe structure. So part A is the administrative information part with the proposal and participant. Part B is the narrative part with the technical description of the proposal. And it's 120 pages for the large-scale projects and ACI. The annexes for the part B will include also additional information on the work package, in detailed description of activities, budget, cost breakdown, and the different entities definition, and any ethics or security aspect that are flagged in the part A to be reported. Then, now for the rules of submission. What happens when you have delivered your proposals? So it's as we have done in the previous calls. So it's with respect to the Horizon Euro rules, we will follow an eligibility and evaluation and our criteria following these rules. So what does it mean? We will have an expert individual assessment in a first phase. Then we have a consensus phase where the expert needs to agree on the different scoring from each proposal. This is the evaluation phase 2. And then we have a topic panel review. We have the cross-reading of the different reports, and we finalize the evaluation summary report that you will receive for your proposal with the different elements of the ranking and evaluation that the expert have gathered and consensus. And finally, a call panel review in order to identify the global call panel winning proposals and And maybe in some cases also a reserve list. So that's we are having these mechanisms to include other proposals and prioritize other proposals and steer budget flexibility when they are identified by the experts and needed. And then after this process, we have also the grant preparation phase, where this will lead to grant signature. So nothing new here from the previous ones. And then we are moving to the evaluation criteria that also is the same as we have in the other calls, but I will summarize. So we have three main areas, three main criteria areas. First, about excellence. Second, about the impact and then implementation. About excellence, it's about the relevance with the SRIA, clarity and pertinence of the project's objectives, soundness of the methodology, and high-level innovation with the different technology performance objectives. Then for impact is the credibility of the pathway. What are the measures to maximize the outcomes, the credible plan, the industrial strategy of the consortium as a whole, and also synergies with other programs. And implementation is about the quality and effectiveness of the project work plan, the financial plan and budget in line with the topic's indicative value, the consortium configuration, the technical capabilities and skills within the topic area, and the ability to involve the supply chain and another tier industrial organization. And last one is the ensuring the in-kind contribution to the KU as per the members' obligation as described before. And then we are moving to the fast-track activities that is more a more novelty approach. It's a simplified methodology. So here I will explain first the topic description. For example, you see that I will not cover project impact monitoring, in-kind contribution, cooperation agreement, and involvement of EASA because it's not applicable to the fast track. It's simplified in order to be able to sign the grant in a shorter period and also to implement the activities in a shorter timeline, also up to 24 months. So next slide. I mentioned 24 months, and then technology readiness level is also from 4 to 5. So we are not aiming to up to the 6 as in the other topics, and also the CRL criteria is not part of the FTA. So you have here, you see there is a shorter content in terms of the core topic criteria and conditions. In terms of special skills and capabilities for the consortium, there are some specific criteria. For example, the coordinator shall be an university research organization or a SME. And then in terms of skills, it's the same as for the other projects. The consortium should ensure that they have the adequate expertise to cover the field of competence. Also, newcomers from the field of aeronauticals, additional expertise needed to complement the traditional aeronautical domain, so similar to the other topics. And what is more a novelty, as Sebastian was already introducing at the beginning, is the industrial end user. So the exploitation in this case is done through the connection with an industrial end user. So in the project proposal, you should be able to define what is the expected industrial end user that should be capable to integrate and mature these technologies in an aircraft concept that is aligned with our SRIA, that are described in the amended work program for the KAJU in the 24-25. So the proposal should clearly define what is the expected end user and how it's intended to engage with the end user. Then the formal engagement with the end user will be done before the grant preparation. template same as before, but with several simplifications. So part B narrative is 50 pages limitation, and annex to part B, and in the financial part we will describe all the work package description, cost tables, and so on has been simplified to the Horizon Europe template, so it's much more lean. Rules of submission evaluation is the same. I'm going to repeat the step that we are not going to have a call panel review, so the different FTA topics will be handled separately. And here is the same type of criteria that you have seen before, but you can see also the different simplification that has been done for FTA. So first, in excellence, we have we don't have the relevance with respect to the SRIA of topics. Sorry, the SRIA objectives. Next, because the project objectives is in the second point is still included. Then for the impact, we have we don't have the potential market update industrial strategy in particular, because this will be covered through the inclusion of the end user. Next one. And in terms of implementation, you see that the match within the program objectives, the supply chains, and also the in-kind contribution are not part of it. In-kind contribution is not part of the requirements for the FTA topics. And finally, the reference document. When you enter in the funding and tenders portal in each of the different topics, you will see the different background of documentation. So it's a range from the work program called 3 topic definition to the work program amendment. When you can see the aircraft concept and also the conditional management of the calls as well, the criteria that I have been shown before. Then also the rules of submission, evaluation, and selection, more detail, what I have presented. The SRIA, the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda, with more detail of the aircraft concept. And the consortium agreement model, the cooperation agreement model, the contract template for EASA when needed, and then the Horizon Europe Model Grant Agreement and the funding and tenders rules for the legal evaluation, the annotated model grant agreement, and also specific documents for large projects or FTA. That includes the application form, where you will see the different sections that are required for large-scale projects and ACI or FTA. And then the evaluation form for the different actions and the Q&A as well. Because we have released already a first batch of Q&A that we will also update after this meeting with taking the more relevant questions from today to have a version 2 of the question and answer online.
20th of March. The 20th of March, the second release.
So for, yes, question and answer guidance. So you can submit also your question through our functional email. We will collect the questions. We are not answering an individual question, but we are collecting the different questions when relevant. And then we will publish the 20th of March, the new version of the question and answers for all the participants, as we are an open call and we want everyone to have the same level of information. And I think that was the last one.
Yes.
Correct? Thank you. And then I will pass to our legal colleagues. And I see Bruno and Pablo are here already.
No, yes.
Okay, good morning. Thank you, Maria, for handing over. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you here in White Atrium and the many people connected. So my name is Bruno Mastantuono. I'm the head of the governance unit, and I'm going to introduce this presentation. Then I will hand over to my colleague Paolo Ballesteros, who is going to give you a little bit more of the guidance. So
It's me. It's me.
you're moving
Yes.
slides? Okay, fine. So I'll try to be very quick from my side. First of all, I think many of you already know the program. We have some specific rules and arrangement, as you know, in our calls. Those of you who have been involved in phase one are already familiar with specific legal elements. The specificity of this call structure, as you know already, you must have heard from colleagues before, is a quite peculiar exercise that we have run. So we also had the basically to adapt the rules also to fit into this call architecture, because finally, as colleagues have already told you, it's really important that in the end of the day, we manage really to get the outcome out of this call tree in line with the technical objectives of the program. So there is a lot of call legal design that has been done, of course, in close alignment with the technical requirements of the program. I'll go very quickly. We have 3 slides, just basically to spell out the main legal specificities of the 3 categories of topics that are published under Goal 3, the large-scale projects, the ACI topics, and the FTA. So I'll start with the LSAP, large-scale projects. So as you know, these are the large-scale projects in the area of regional and SMR. These are innovation actions, IA, in the meaning of Horizon Europe. There is a maximum EU funding contribution per project that has been set at 70 million. One project will be funded per topic. This is already a specificity because this is being set as an eligibility condition. So as you know, normally in Horizon Europe, the funding is indicative, which means that it's not excluded that you may also lodge a proposal going beyond that budget indication. The difference here is that we have to make it work with the budget we have in the program. So basically the 70 million is really set to be an eligibility condition. So when you make your proposal, make sure not to exceed the 70 million in terms of overall funding requests. Otherwise, your proposal will simply be excluded, will not even go through the evaluation phase. So this is really, really important that you keep in mind these conditions. In-kind contribution, as you know, this is a very fascinating element that we have in our program that is also, I think, very much giving a lot of support to the JUs because, we are pulling very interesting activities. We are really investing a lot of funding on those activities, but also we are asking also the private side to invest and to leverage additional investments. So it's not just a pure legal condition. There is a lot of important elements behind the notion of in-kind contribution, especially when it comes to joint undertakings ability to foster private investments. The specificity here is that like in phase 1, meaning call 1 and call 2, at topic level, there is a requirement to basically ensure a minimum leverage factor of 1.5. So this is in continuity with phase 1. There was no reason to change the rules here. We have seen the 1.5 working in phase 1 projects. We didn't really want to raise the bar even more because we want to keep the program also as open as possible also to, all typology of stakeholders, including those who are not necessarily in the position really to invest a substantial level of additional funding and in-kind contribution. So the 1.5 will still remain as an applicable condition. This is very important because it means that at project level, you must show across the implementation of the project, if your project will be selected, that you keep this 1.5 minimum leverage ratio. This is in terms of aggregated level of in-kind contribution being brought by the participants in the consortium being members of the JU. So again, those of you having experience in phase one, I think nothing really specific here to be added. For those of you who are new to this in-kind contribution, this is not a negotiating area for us. It's an extremely important area because, again, really one of the raison d'etre of the JUs is really to leverage additional, private investments. Keep it simple at the same time, my message. If you are involved in other projects at the national level, regional level, you can also use those additional project and research activities that you are carrying out with national support in some cases, in order basically for those activities to be qualified as in-kind contribution. Equally, if you're running research and activities with your own investments, please also bring those, in terms of in-kind contribution. Cooperation. Cooperation is really at the core of the JU because it's all about cooperation. So as you know, all the phase one projects sign up to a cooperation agreement. This is very important because even though we are still operating through codes and topics in different areas, it's really important that we have a multi-stakeholders level cooperation agreement in the JU, which is necessary to allow the parties to cooperate not only within the consortium, but also across the different consortia. This is really important when you really want to pull competencies, expertise from other projects in order to feed other projects in terms of ultimate expected deliverables. So what we had in phase one was a cooperation agreement that has been signed up by all the beneficiaries. This is allowing basically to exchange data, information, exchange deliverables, information about projects. So those of you who are already signatory of a cooperation agreement will not have to sign it again. Of course, those of you that will be selected and will be new beneficiary to Clean Aviation, you will have basically to accede to the cooperation agreement, which again is across all the different trusts of the program, is across all the program. It's a multi-stakeholders cooperation agreement. When it comes then to area where there is really need to have a strengthened level of cooperation between projects, this is an area that is very, very important because, for instance, if you look at regional, if you read the topic description, we are requiring this level of enhanced cooperation to be structured between the different projects that will be running in the area of regional. This is very important because, again, even though the topics are launched separately, all those projects finally will have to be connected to each other. So this is really important because it's not only about having high-level coordination, it's really about having, a sort of plan indicated from the beginning where you really see deliverable A from one project contributing to deliverable B to another project. So there is really a sort of area where there is an interdependency that is expected basically to be nurtured there. And of course, you need an instrument to be able to connect the different, dots. And this is something that you will have basically to structure via collaboration agreements. This is a collaboration agreement that basically will allow connecting the different projects active in the area of regional, including also the ACI project, the ACI being the aircraft integration project, but I'll come back to this in a moment. EASA, phase one, call 2, EASA involvement, we had a lot of experience about that. As you know, it's really important that we keep EASA very much involved from the beginning in terms of setting a path of cooperation when it comes to pre-certification and certification and worthiness advancements. That is very, very much important, I think, especially in phase 2, in which a certification readiness level scale will also be applicable. This is a new concept that has been elaborated in phase 1 and that will be applicable in phase 2. This is really something new that is really intending to accelerate the path to certification in Europe, which, as you know, is very important in terms of ensuring that Europe has a competitive and keep competitive pace also with regard to other global leaders. So like in phase 1, EASA basically will be there in order to cooperate with you. We will be using the cooperation of EASA like done in phase 1 through advisory contract that will be placed under the grant agreements. And EASA will be basically acting as a third party providing in-kind contribution. So the consortia will be basically engaging with the EASA. You have basically to discuss with the EASA up front and determine what is the effort, what is the area, what is the plan to be basically detailed, what is the effort also in terms of budget. All those information will have already to flow into the proposal that you will be submitting. Once things will be ready and mature, there is an advisory contract, a specific contract that basically will have to be placed with the EASA. In terms of evaluation and the work criteria, there is no specific difference. Basically, we are using the same evaluation rate like in Core 1 and Core 2, no specific difference. Also, when it comes to scoring and weighting factor, as you know, we are always applying a weighting factor of 1.5 to innovation action, meaning that basically there will be a 1.5 weight factor given to impact, considering again the important outputs that are expected, especially from phase 2. If we move to the next slide, this is about the second category of topics, what we call aircraft integration and impact. These are also innovation actions. Here as well, the same story. There is a maximum basically funding request of 10 millions. And there will be only 2 projects that will be funded. Here as well, this is eligibility. So if you put a proposal beyond this funding, it will be declared inadmissible. Now, when we look at this funding threshold, again, do not give for assumed that you needed to put a proposal for that amount. Do not underestimate the fact that your proposal will be competing with others. So in the end, also, experts will also be looking at best value for money, especially for the large scale projects. We see a little bit a tendency of overshooting on the budget. Sometimes do not underestimate that we are also very much evaluating best value for money. So do not undershoot just because you want to stay as close as possible to the maximum funding availability. Be careful about that. People, again, more used to Horizon Europe project are just overshooting. Here, as I said, there is a lot of, I would say, important elements being given also to best value for money. Specifically for SCI are that these are projects, these are topics that are intended basically to integrate the different activities emerging from the different, topics in the area of regional, in the area of SMR. These are topics where basically there will be need to pool and aggregate data emerging from the other project in regional and SMR, especially to perform an aggregated level of performance assessment level. So this is really I would say an area which is critical because these projects are really going to be sort of holding the responsibility to show that the overall aggregated level of effort is showing that there is a progress being on target in terms of performance assessment on the aircraft level. This is really, really important. The specificity here is that the coordinator role is not something that we can just shoot over there. Who wants to coordinate this can do it. Actually, the coordinator role here shall be limited to European-based aircraft manufacturers integrator that have all the necessary competencies, expertise, and certification in the area of regional and SMR. So as you know, this is pretty small markets. So of course, I would say that it goes without saying that there are certain expectations of having certain companies to take the lead on this project, especially because of the integration work that will be needed. So here as well, it's important that you keep in mind that in the work program, we are also listing the aircraft concepts that are going to basically to be explored in phase 2. So there is also a sort of reference framework when basically we are looking at this typology of European-based aircraft manufacturers. In-kind contribution, same rule as in the large scale project here as well. This is a research activity, so the 1.5 ratio will apply. In terms of cooperation as well here, in case, I doubt, in case there will be new beneficiaries, there will be still a need to sign up the cooperation agreement. In terms of enhanced cooperation, as I said before, there is really a need to connect the different projects in the area of regional, in the area of SMR. It goes without saying that there is also a need to exchange data across those projects for those data to flow finally to the ACI in order to perform the performance assessment at aircraft concept level. EASA as well here as well has to be involved. It's really important as well that this discussion starts also in the context of proposals that will be put forward for this ACI. award criteria, there is no specific modification. And also when it comes to weighting factor, also here impact, of course, will be given a weighting factor of 1.5. So for ACI, we are done. These are the legal specificity. We can go to FTA. As you know, FTA, fast track activities. This is a new mechanism that we are testing in Clean Aviation. I'm sure that colleagues have already told you a lot about this. We are very happy because we have been designing this from scratch, trying really to be innovative, but also trying really to look at how to push different levels of innovation, alternative solutions that could be funded by the GU as we move forward, with the large-scale projects, potential additional, solutions that could be explored, but always keeping in mind that we want to see finally impacts out of those projects. So this is not collaborative research. These are projects that have a clear exploitation route that wants to be basically seen, that we want to see, that experts will basically check and see during the evaluation process. It's really important that for those FTA as well, you keep in mind that we are also here have set an eligibility condition when it comes to funding. So 5 million is the eligibility for funding. You cannot make proposals beyond the 5 millions. Here as well, the intention is not to limit innovation. We know that innovation costs a lot of time, effort, and resources, but we need to make it work with the budget we have. So for the time being, we have decided to invest the first amount on this FTA. Then we will see if the concept will be successful. Then the governing board can always take different decision in terms of budget allocation if needed. So for the time being, we want to test this limited number of topics, fast track activities. Why are they called fast track? For two reasons. One is more process administrative wise. We want to keep a faster time to grants. We would really like to have these grants to start as soon as possible. So we are looking at 2 months, I would say, timing efficiency in comparison to the large-scale projects. Of course, because these are much smaller projects, they should be much, I would say, less complex. Also, we have been looking at how to simplify as much as we can all the administrative, legal, and financial aspects of those. But there is also, and this is very important, the technical aspect. These are fast-track activities because, again, they are really aiming at bringing an acceleration in the maturation of the TRL. In a limited time of period, we are looking at a project of 24 months. So as you see, the level of ambition here is really important. We have also decided that the coordination of those projects should be taken by an RTO, by a university, or by an SME. We really would like to see those stakeholders really to take leadership, ownership, and responsibility on those projects. So this is really important also to give these entities the possibility really to place their bets as well into the program and show that there are very important ideas, innovation, and capabilities there that could be, invested into the program. It's really important here to keep in mind that, again, this is not collaborative research. These are projects that have to show a clear exploitation route into the program. This is why we have come up with the concept of end user. When you will be applying to these topics, you need basically to list up front who is going to be the industrial end user of those projects. And it's really important that you are looking at industrial exploitation with basically entities that, again, are going to be European-based aircraft manufacturers, integrators, with the necessary competencies and capabilities in the area of SMR and regional domain in Europe. It's really important that this is clear to everyone. We are not looking for crazy exploitation routes. We are looking for exploitation to be taken on the SMR and regional level, because finally, all those projects, they have to contribute to the roadmap of Clean Aviation. They have to basically contribute to the aircraft concept roadmap, which is very, very ambitious. At the same time, if you think that additional exploitation could be taken on these projects, you are also allowed to propose additional exploitation routes. So basically here there is agility that is being given to the consortium, potentially also to target additional exploitation. But the primary exploitation should be looking at the aircraft concept model that are listed into our work program. In terms of simplification, we wanted to make this project to be more agile and faster. So there will be no 1.5 specific in-kind requirement into these projects. This is a less administrative burden, we understand. Anyway, we expect many members to apply to this project, which means that those members will be able to bring in-kind contribution as they do annually through the reporting, through the declaration and reporting of in-kind contribution. So if you are already a member of the JU and you will become a beneficiary of those FTA, you will still bring your in-kind via the annual in-kind activities in our process. This is very important because still those projects also will bring in-kind contribution. In terms of enhanced cooperation, the cooperation with the end user, needless to say, is very important. So we expect the end user to enter the grant agreement as an associated partner, because we believe that it's really important that you bring the end user into the consortium. With zero funding or with the limited funding, this is something that you will have to discuss with the end user. But we expect basically the end user to enter the consortium agreement and to enter the grant agreement as an associated partner, which is basically a beneficiary with zero funding. So this is really important because this would avoid having different separate agreement between the consortium and the end user. It's much better and much more effective to the end user to be part of the consortium, to be able to exchange data, information, so forth. In terms of EASA, there is not a requirement per se to involve EASA. This is to be seen case by case if this would be needed. The award criteria are going to be simplified. There will be no specific evaluation on in-kind. There will be no specific evaluation on other aspects in comparison to the large-scale projects. And in terms of weighting factor, basically there is an equal weight that will be given to the three award criteria because these are RIA projects, research and innovation actions. Weighting factor will be only applicable in case there will be ex-aequo proposals. So in that case, as you know, there is a sort of priority grid that will be given to certain, specific criteria. I will stop here. I think I gave you quickly a snapshot of the three categories of topics. Bear in mind when you apply always to read carefully the topic description and all the legal conditions attached to each topic, because there are specificities also between one topic and another. So really try to read carefully, every single topic description before applying. I will stop here now and we will hand over to my colleague Pablo Ballesteros, who will give you more guidance on other legal aspects on how to make a proposal and potentially and hopefully for you a successful grant agreement.
Thank you. Thank you, Bruno. Marina, I don't know how much time I have left, but okay. So I'm picking up from where Bruno has left it, and I'm going to be focusing on more general legal aspects. Still, I will elaborate on a few points of what has been presented so far. On the cooperation agreements that Bruno already explained quite extensively, this is a framework for exchange of information and/or data among CAJU funded actions. A point that has not been said yet is the operationalization of the cooperation agreement at grant agreement level. And that takes the form of a particular deliverable that is called cooperation plan that needs to be specified in each of the grant agreements. That needs to be submitted within 6 months from the signature of the grant. This is the only aspect that I would like to mention. And also that FTA projects and consortia are not obliged to join their beneficiaries, their project, to join the cooperation agreement. This is important. They are spared from this. So next slide, please. Collaboration agreement. Again, already Bruno mentioned. What kind of agreement is this one? Is enhanced cooperation, as we like to call it, which addresses those areas where there is a need for synchronization of actual activities. So as well as the internal organization and decision processes affecting these linked actions. So Nothing else to add here. I think Bruno already explained pretty well that this is a step forward in the need for cooperation between linked actions. We can go next slide. Okay, now more general legal aspects here. Some novelties when it comes to countries eligible for funding. So you can see here, we just singled out Canada because big actor too, so fully associated to Horizon Europe, fully eligible for EU funding. And there you can see three countries under transitional arrangements: Morocco, Republic of Korea, and particularly here Switzerland. Switzerland arrived, finished negotiations last year, end of the year. And it's still pending formalization of the signature. But what we expect is that the signing of the association agreement would happen within these next months. And what we encourage, and this is important, that Swiss legal entities established in Switzerland should apply as beneficiaries in the proposal, because whenever it comes into force, the association agreement would have retroactive effects from the 1st of January, therefore they would be eligible anyways. In the improbable event that the association agreement is not signed by the time the grant agreement is to be signed, then it would happen like it happened in Call 2, Call 1, which is that these legal entities would need to move from their status as beneficiaries in the grant to associated partners. It is quite improbable, but it's something to keep in mind. So next slide, please. Do you have the link there in the presentation to the most updated list of participating countries? Another click. There you go. So restriction measures, still this didn't change from Call 2. On Hungarian entities, there is a certain number of Hungarian entities affected by the Council implementing decision 2022-2506 that cannot participate in the entire change of financing that involves union funding. We encourage you to go and check this implementing decision, and also particularly the FAQ that the European Commission has put in place in the funding and tender portal, because there is a whole list of Hungarian entities affected by this decision. On Chinese entities, for legal, well, not Chinese, but legal entities established in China are not eligible to participate in Horizon Europe innovation actions in any capacity whatsoever. This is full application of the general annexes of Horizon Europe, the work program. And on Russian and Belarusian entities or legal entities established there, or in any occupied territory of Ukraine, are not eligible to participate in any capacity. The next slide. So more general admissibility and eligibility conditions, apart from the proposal needed to be submitted through the tool and funding and tenders portal. One page limit for LSP, so large scale projects and ACI is 120 pages. That's admissibility condition. And for FTA topics is 50 pages maximum. Anything that goes beyond these limits will be disregarded by the experts. More general eligibility conditions, this doesn't change. Full application of European Commission model. Work program and general annexes is at least one independent legal entity established in a member state and two other independent legal entities, each established in a different member state or associated country. This doesn't change at all, has always been like this. For CSA, so coordination support actions, which I think would have been known in this call, this changes because it is only one legal entity needed. For special eligibility conditions, these have been already explained by Bruno. You can consult them in the first 3 slides. Okay, so participants' roles, different roles. And we start with the coordinator, which is the most important one. This doesn't cover all the responsibilities of the coordinator, so we encourage you to go to Article 7 of the Model Grant Agreement. Obviously, you can see here the management of the technical coordination of the project, monitoring of the projects, of the action that is correctly implemented, acting as intermediary, and all these. What I would like to stress a couple of points. The first one is that the financial coordination, you are responsible, coordinators are responsible for the distribution of payments received by the JU to the other beneficiaries of the action without undue delay. These are really important. And finally, I highlight this too. None of these responsibilities of Article 7 can be neither subcontracted nor delegated to other participants or beneficiaries in the action. This is really important whenever looking for extra external support for the coordination of the action. None of these can be subcontracted. Okay, keep that in mind. Next slide, please. So general beneficiaries obligations. So you can see here also in Article 7 that applies to all beneficiaries. You keep your information stored in the portal updated. This is never-ending almost obligation. You have to keep it updated all the time. It's really important. Inform the granting authority, inform the JU, inform your project officer of any events and also other beneficiaries and the coordinator. Any events that may affect the proper implementation of the action or the legitimate interest of the EU. That goes in the direction of financial interest. If for whatever reason your company is going through financial difficulties and it's going to need to some restructuring or even filing for liquidation, there is a timing for doing that, because the longer it takes, the more damage the legitimate interest of the JU would be. So, and that is why it has to be communicated to the JU in due time. So we can go to the next slide, please. Affiliated entities, that's okay. We are already in the middle of Horizon Europe, so referring to the old linked third parties in H2020, but this is the case. So affiliated entities are entities with a link with a beneficiary, either legal or capital, that are neither limited to the action and nor established for the sole purpose of its implementation. So affiliated entities refer to or covers permanent legal structures like the relationship between the association, a group, and its members, but it also covers any contractual cooperation that is not limited to the action. Meaning, for instance, an agreement for research in a particular field that makes those two entities affiliated entities in the sense of the grant agreement. Important is that it covers not only parent companies. This one, yes, okay. Not only parent companies and holdings, as I said, and their daughter companies between themselves. Finally, so we can move to the next, but in the end, they have basically the same role as the beneficiaries. Basically, it's the same. Associated partners, and click again several times so that we can see the entire slide. Yeah, I did this animation thing. So associated partners, important role that they have actually got in call 1, call 2, and maybe also in call 3, given that what we expect from the end user in the ACI project is to participate in the FTA projects as associated partners. So this is important to understand what it means. So these are entities that implement the action tasks, so not contribution, action tasks, without receiving EU funding. They do not sign the grant agreement. They do implement the action tasks that are attributed to them in Annex 1. And sometimes these are really, really important action tasks. So the fact that they don't receive funding doesn't mean that they do not have an important role in the projects. Not necessarily. They do not charge costs or contribution to the action. And these are not eligible for reimbursement whatsoever. Now, here on the right side on the button, so you can see the consortium must ensure that certain grant agreement obligations are also applicable to associated partners. This is important in terms of liability. Like, for instance, the proper implementation of the action, the conflict of interest, anything and all provisions concerning conflict of interest, confidentiality, security, information, record keeping, checks, audits, bodies that can actually ensure that these audits can be carried out by the European Court of Auditors, by OLAF, etc. This is important because these obligations apply to the associated partners, but those that need to ensure that they apply is the consortium. So this is really important to keep in mind whenever you have associated partners in your consortium. Here on the left, you can see what we say is that the consortium remains responsible, as I said, towards the JU for this action path to perform, meaning the proper implementation of the action. So what we recommend very highly is that given that they join the consortium and they should sign the consortium agreement, you have a proper liability reaching section in the consortium agreement concerning what is the relationship between the other beneficiaries with the associated partners, because ultimately it is either the entire consortium or a specific beneficiary mentioned in Article 9.1 with whom that associated partner is associated in the grant, who is ultimately responsible for whatever the associated partner does. So keep this in mind when elaborating your consortium agreement. Next. EASA would have a presentation afterwards, but here I will only mention that concerning the type of participation of EASA in CAJU actions, it is third-party providing in-kind contributions using this model service contract, but we need to pay attention, and this didn't happen in the past because we didn't have this model contract in place, that whenever, like you see here, it has to be complemented by other possible agreements already in place between EASA and the legal entity itself. So to not duplicate the number of service contracts if it's already signed with that particular legal entity for that other project, it has to be adapted. And I think EASA will elaborate on this. Important, not mandatory, the participation of EASA in FTA actions. That doesn't mean that they cannot participate. It's simply not mandatory. And that's it.
Yes.
I think. You go. That's the last slide?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
We are on time, actually.
It's now the financial section. Thank you, Paolo and Bruno, for your contributions. And we have with us Roman, who is the head of the administration and finance in Clean Aviation.
Good morning, all. Here, okay. I'm here. Okay. Good morning, all. Very happy to be here. If you could give me still 15 minutes maximum before the coffee break so that I can explain you briefly the financial aspects and also administrative aspect for the proposal. Next slide. So first of all, registration and validation of your legal entity. Next slide. Yes, so here you see an overview of the validation process. So here, since we are only still at the stage of the proposal, we can focus only on the first step, which is in fact the registration of the participating organization. So in fact, what does it mean for you? If this is not yet the case, you need to have a valid PIC, which means a participant identification code. I guess several of you already have one. But in any case, you need first to verify if your PIC is existing and is valid. And if not, we can go to the next slide. If not, so in any case, you will need to be first registered in the participant portal. To do that, you will need to provide basic administrative and legal information. So at this stage, it is only information, no need to provide documents. So you will need to specify what is the type of your organization, to specify the contact details, the VAT number, the register number, etc. This is rather quick. After completing these steps, you will receive a 9-digit participant code, the PIC, which you will need to use in all in your online application form and also in all further correspondence with the EU services. This newly created PIC will be provisional at the stage of the proposal, and it's only later, once your proposal will be successful, which I hope for you, that you will be contacted directly by the EU services and the validation services to provide additional documents so that they can validate your PIC. Next slide. So here I've just put some links to the user manual, the online manual, and you see that in chapter 2 you can find all the step-by-step guidelines to register your organization. Next slide. Yeah, now we can go to the proposal, to the preparation of the proposal and the financial and budget tables. Next slide. So here, just as an introduction or a reminder for most of you, I guess, about the main financial aspect under Clean Aviation and Horizon Europe. So the funding rate, nothing changed, 70% or 100% in case for non-profit public organization. Personnel cost, now novelty, these are calculated based on the daily rate. Indirect cost, also still the continuity of the 25% flat rate. CFS threshold, I will not go into it now. We are only at the level of the proposal, so it will be later in the reporting of the cost. Lump sums, we are not concerned in this call, please, so because we are not implementing lump sums for the time being. In-kind contribution, that this was already mentioned. You know that they are split between the ICOP and the IKA. ICOP in this program, the new program, are directly calculated as a difference between the total eligible cost and the geofunding. And for what concerns the IKA, you know that in the SBA, in the single basic I, there is an enlarged definition of the additional activities, which is also complemented by by our in-kind contribution procedure that we have published last year. Other provision and internal invoicing, I will not go too much into details at this stage. Next slide. So here, yeah, you can find all information related to the eligibility of the cost in Article 6 of the model agreement. Next slide. Yeah, and so now let's go to the financial tables in the proposal. So the main difference between the two types of topics, you have the FTA and the large-scale project and ACI. So in the FTA topics, in fact, you are requested to fill in the tables, the standard tables as they are in the Horizon Europe proposal template. And as it was also already mentioned, there is no requirements in terms of in-kind contribution. So that's why we don't have any templates related to this. For what concerns the large-scale project and the ACI, so here you will be requested to fill in much more detailed tables. And that's why, in fact, the numbering is different in the proposal, depending on the type of topics. Next slide. So here you have an overview of the template structure. So you see, and the two types of topics, FTA and LSP and ACI. So in the part A, in both cases, you will have to fill in the summary budget tables. We'll show you in the next slide. For the FTA, as it was mentioned, you don't need to fill in anything on the in-kind contribution, whereas for the other topics, the large-scale project and ACI, you will have to fill in both the ICOP and the IKA. In the part B, for the FTA, as already mentioned, you will fill in the financial tables according to the Horizon Europe templates. These are 4 tables. And for the other topics, you will have to fill in detailed tables as they have been prepared by Clean Aviation. And if you are already participating in projects in Code 1 and 2, you know these tables very well. And these are also 4 tables for what concerns the financial and budget aspect. For the annex to part B, in the FTA, nothing. In the other topics, the table 2.3, which is the cost breakdown per beneficiary. Yeah. And in any case, you will have to ensure the consistency vertically, if I could call it like this, between the different tables, and in particular between the part A and the part B for what concerns the figures. Next slide. So here, yeah, this is the budget presentation in the part A, the consolidated table, which shows which you have to fill in for each beneficiary or each participant, and specify the cost per cost category. So you have the personnel cost, the subcontracting, the other direct costs, and so on. The indirect costs are automatically calculated, and then up to the requested EU contribution. And as it is mentioned to the right, you have also to fill in to mention the amount of ICOP and IKA for the ACI and large-scale project, and not for the FTA. Next slide. Part B, for the FTA topics. So here you see marked in yellow, these are the 4 tables, the standard tables under Horizon Europe that you will have to fill in for what concerns the financial and budget aspects. So you have the 3.1G, which shows the description and the justification of the subcontracting cost. The 3.1H, which is the justification for the purchase cost. And then the 3.1I and J, related to the other cost category and the income contribution from third party free of charge. And the last 2 tables, it's only if you reach a certain threshold that you will have to fill them in. And the last one, in any case, it's you have to fill it in if you will have income contribution from third party free of charge. Next slide. So for the LSP and the ACI topics of the Part B, so here, since these are supposed to be projects that are more complex with more participants, higher budget as well, we are asking you to provide more elaborated information on the budget and the financial aspects. So, and these are 4 tables that you see here marked in yellow. So we have the budget summary per applicant and work package. You have the income contribution provided by third party, again, free of charge, and the cost breakdown per beneficiary. If we go to the next slide, we can see a detailed overview. So here, the first table, 3.1E, budget summary, the total direct cost per applicant and work package. And here you see that you need to split the planned cost per cost category, personnel, subcontracting, and so on. And you need to do this first per applicant and also per work package. And obviously, you need to reconcile them. It means that the total per applicant should match with the total per work packages. And finally, you see in the last column, the amount of ICOP will be automatically calculated by the table. And as already mentioned, this is the difference between the total eligible cost and the geofunding. Next slide. Income contribution only so not for the FTA, only for the large scale project and the ACI. And here, if for the ones that were planning in the call 1 and call 2, you see that the table is now much more simple and easy. So we are asking you to provide only the planned amount of income contributions split by ICOP, which you can find directly in the previous table, and of IKA. So we don't ask you to provide information on the description of the activities, and nor about the split between the intrinsic and the extrinsic IKA. And finally, the bottom line in the table, you will be able to see the calculated ratio of income contribution, which, as you know, should be not less than 150%. Next slide. Yeah, here that's the same table in both in all topics. It's the income contribution provided by third party free of charge. So here it's in the case where you plan to have secondary personnel or equipment, in most of the case, or use of a lab provided by a third party free of charge. Next slide, and last slide, I think, is the Annex 2 to Part B, the table 2.3, And here, this is, I would say, the more detailed table of the cost per beneficiary with the cost breakdown per work package and per cost category. So this is really here the lowest level of granularity, and that's also where you need also to provide information on how the resources will be used in the different cost category and work packages.
One more.
So last slide, just a quick takeaway. So the total cost, as already mentioned, must match between all the tables. So the part A, the part B, the cost per work packages per beneficiary, the detail also at the level of each applicant. In case of divergence, in any case, the figures that will be in the part A will prevail. But I think we will avoid to arrive to this, and we need to, you and us also, to check that it's consistent. You will need also to plan and prepare your accounting and reporting practices accordingly, and in particular, if it's not yet the case, to ensure that you can allocate costs per work packages. Also, as a reminder, so the eligible direct cost for each cost category must be established according to the provisions of the model grant agreements, in particular Article 6. And finally, as already mentioned, the ICOP will be calculated automatically. So here you don't need to do anything except provide your total eligible cost of the project and the maximum due contribution. And I think it concludes my presentation for today.
Yes.
Okay. Well on time, should we?
Thank you,
10
Roman.
minutes late. We are 10 minutes late.
Yes, so we are 10 minutes late, so it's not so bad. So let's have a 15 minutes coffee break. We take the question and answer after the coffee break. Thank you.
Wi-Fi. Bon, ça va sinon, c'était.
C'était smooth.
Juste la proposition.
Hey. Emmanuel, are you there?
We are 400. Yes.
Good. Can you talk a bit? Then I just check the sound in the room.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. Pleased to be with you for this info day.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Manuel. We can hear you loud and clear here in the room. Thank you for the audio check. Maybe the camera, I don't know if it's possible for Marine to put it on the screen here. Now, so please take your seats here in Brussels. And before going to the question and answers, we have a presentation from EASA. So Emmanuel Sambert is with us online. He will be presenting the EASA involvement as part of the call 3. So Emmanuel, the floor is yours. And
Thank you, Maria.
Before starting, We will share all the slides. The slide pack will be shared, so you will have it as a means of consultation for the future as well. And also, I would like to mention this AI tool that was identified at the beginning of the chat. So actually, you will receive most probably, the ones connected online, a spam email from this AI tool. This is what we wanted to avoid, asking the people to cancel this, but you may receive that. Apologize for that, but we have taken out the people from the meeting at the beginning of the presentation, and apologize for this. Emmanuel, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Maria. So again, good morning to everyone. I'm pleased to present a short brief on the potential involvement of EASA, the European Union Aviation Safety Agency, as part of the Call 3 projects. So next. Yes. So the presentation is to go through the main basic questions you may ask. Why EASA is engaged for phase 2? What is of the offer we can provide? How to interact with us, and we'll provide also some views on the CRL, certification readiness level concept, that is now embedded into the core text. And last parts are dedicated to the legal aspect and who will be the contact from EASA. Next one. So why having EASA on board Clean Aviation Phase 2? This is coming from our commitment to contribute to the EU Green Deal strategic objectives, also to support research innovation actions under the Horizon Europe program and Clean Aviation program. In addition, we take as a duty to prepare for the entry in service of the market of new technologies for aviation. There's several examples that you can already see on EASA website, like for instance for artificial intelligence. And last but not least is to prepare to update the regulatory framework. Aviation is highly regulated, and especially for safety, and mission of EASA is to maintain the highest level of standards in this field. This includes facilitate the product certification, which is our duty for EU product, but also start to harmonize about these new technologies with non-EU partners, like in US or the other regions of the world. Next. So what do we offer in a nutshell? From our expertise on safety, airworthiness, with different domain experts, providing their advice. We can take the concept of operations, the product that Clean Aviation partners have in mind, and we can provide an assessment from our perspective about what's the feasibility, what's the main issues for product certification, meaning demonstrating the compliance with existing rules, or preparing with the evolution of developing new rules when for instance new technologies do not fit with existing regulatory framework. This includes as well to support the development of MOC, MOCs, means of compliance, which is quite an essential tool for industry players, for demonstrating compliance with the regulatory framework. And in all this stage, we can provide advice. We can start, to contribute, with the drafting of some regulatory materials. Again, there are examples already published by EASA agency for hybrid electric propulsion. And last December, we had also an international workshop at EASA for hydrogen-related technologies. And the plan, the roadmap for, developing, the regulatory framework in cooperation with US partners. This is available as materials on the EASA website if you're interested. In a nutshell, yes, it's to maintain the highest level of safety standards for the whole set of players of aviation in Europe. And lastly, also to contribute to the harmonization and international levels involving other partners and the International Organization for Civil Aviation, ICAO. Next. Yeah, as you have already noted from the presentation of my colleagues at CAJU, CRL, certification readiness level, is embedded as part of the criteria for the description of call, in terms of objective to be achieved by the different projects. In a nutshell, CRL starts, is let's say, intended to provide a mirror to TRL, technology readiness level, but considering the readiness of the regulatory framework for, the certification and the operations of new product, new technologies. It starts at level 1, where usually we get familiar with the technologies and the concept of operations as developed by industry players or research bodies. And it moved on to level 2, 3, where there's explicit analysis, where EASA experts can contribute about, okay, what are the safety issues? And if we think about product, what are the safety objectives that will be associated with the product. Then, okay, CRL 3, 4, 5 are dedicated to assess, the changes we will need to bring to the regulatory framework, considering airworthiness, but also other areas for operations, for licensing of, pilots, mechanics, technicians, and also air traffic management. What we call pre-application, meaning before the actual certification program starts, is, materialized by the levels 1 to 6, and that's, the core of our involvement within Clean Aviation, is to ensure that at the end of phase 2, the aircraft concept and the related product like engines or propulsion systems, for those we have reached CRL 5 or 6. The other levels, levels 7, 8, 9, are dedicated to the actual certification program and the entry in service of the product. As explained, there's some more guidelines available on the EASA website, and soon, the Concerto project will share the more detailed guidelines, for the applications and the all the guidelines, for adopting CRL as part of the pre-application activities, meaning here, the innovation activity. Next. So this slide is to depict the main objectives through phase 2 of Clean Aviation. This is the bottom with, having reached CRL 8, so meaning entry in the market of product by 2035. And considering that, product certification, like, large aircraft, takes a minimum of 5 years. This has led, to define, the target date of 2030 and potentially even before 2028, 29, to have a confirmation that CRL6 is achieved, meaning that, okay, the draft regulatory materials are available and the necessary technical knowledge, to ensure, the certification of the new product is also acquired. So from 2025, you can see different steps, which are, some, mirroring, CRL 3, 4, 5, which are, let's say the leading levels for assessing, okay, what are the change to safety regulations, start, looking at, okay, what changes need to be made based on technology evolutions, and starting, from this is more where, a safety regulator like EASA are stepping in, is to, to look at the individual projects, or the preliminary design, and to look at whether, generic special conditions, as we call them, are necessary, or whether the product can be accommodated with the existing special conditions like that the agency has already developed. Again, for hybrid electric propulsion, there's already a consistent set of requirements under the special condition E19, and these are, already being used by several industry players. You may have heard that in the recent period, an electric engine from Safran has been certified by EASA. Again, that's reflecting, okay, what you find in the call and with the guidelines, to prepare, the proposal. So how you will be interacting with EASA, during the proposal phase, consortia can contact us to provide an overview of their plan with respect to achieving CRL targets. So it depends on which topic is selected. And these plans need to reflect, the airworthiness activities that the consortium intends to perform, and where, EASA contributions are planned. So this, to be effective here, the intent is very much to use existing expertise from the consortia, as part of their airworthiness teams that need to be involved in the project, and where, contribution from EASA experts are, requested, and we will assess, such plan. But at this stage, at the proposal phase, there's no formal agreement set yet. But okay, obviously, for budgeting, we will also review, the estimation of the expected efforts from EASA for those airworthiness activities. And then, as explained also earlier, during the grant agreement preparation stage, the agreement will be finalized, including the actual statement of work where EASA will contribute, to which activities of the consortium, with a focus on airworthiness, assessing the needs for, product certifications, or for technology demonstrations if there are in-flight demonstrations, or other type of regulatory aspects that needs to be worked out with EASA experts. And last step would be the agreement of a service contract, and that's where we provide more detail on next slide. Yeah, I think it was already presented by Bruno with respect to the use of, EASA service contract. The legal framework, okay, is aligned with the Single Basic Act for CSA, and the basic regulation of EASA, which allow us, to engage with this research and innovation programs. As explained as well, EASA can be involved as a third party. I mean, this is fully reflected in the grant agreement model. The costs also, I mean, I think this was covered already in the presentation the last presentation we had. As an indication, because I mean, the contributions of the agency are against payment, and for, I mean, the calculation of such amount, I mean, we have in our fees and charge regulation a specific rate to be used, and for the period 26-2030, I mean, the approximation is 300 euro. For the contribution, I mean, for the involvement of the agency, you may either select the proposed service contract. The template is part of the core documentation, or you can apply for an EASA innovation service, which is a bilateral agreement with the agency, which is, I mean, in terms of legal aspect, is relatively similar to the service contract, but it means as a bilateral agreement, it means that, okay, sometimes it's better for the protection of intellectual property rights. So we leave, I mean, the two options, I mean, for the consortia or, I mean, the technical, I mean, or the industry player involved to decide whether they want to involve the whole consortia or have a bilateral agreement, innovation service contract with the agency. Next slide. And yeah, a bit more explanation about the innovation service. We have two types, either innovation partnership or pre-application contract pack. I mean, the scale here, I mean, the diagram is to depict, okay, when we can apply those services and the type of activities. This is very similar to, I mean, what is already being presented for Clean Aviation Phase 2. It's very much, I mean, to prepare the regulatory framework prior to launch the actual certification program. And of course, I mean, the closer you are, I mean, with, I mean, the actual product design and the start of industrialization, I mean, the closer we pay attention to make sure that we have regulatory materials available, I mean, covering the different gaps that have been identified in earlier stage, and also to provide guidelines for the organization, because, I mean, certification program mean also, I mean, getting an approval from a design organization or from a production organization. These are also regulatory steps that can be where, I mean, EASA can also support the preparation. If you want to know more about innovation services, there's a dedicated web page on EASA website. And anyway, I mean, you will be able to contact us, I mean, if you need more explanation about, I mean, the choice between the two types of contracts. Next. Yeah, and about, I mean, who to contact during the call preparation period. I will act as primary focal point with my colleague Marcella Miano, who's the head of, I mean, the team in charge of initial airworthiness standards and innovation. And we will also refer to, I mean, technical lead Olivier Robelin, who's the head of department for the propulsion systems and the environmental standards at EASA. So please, I mean, I suggest that you contact when you start preparing your proposal. You can send us a short email explaining, okay, what's the time frame you foresee, I mean, to interact with us. Again, during the proposal phase, it's very much to present, I mean, the plan for airworthiness activities and to check with the EASA when, I mean, contributions are expected by EASA. And then during at the next stage, I mean, during the preparation of the grant agreement and for the implementation of the contract, we will involve, I mean, teams of experts, and there's, I mean, potentially several meetings to be held, I mean, to confirm, I mean, the actual statement of work for the service contract, and what's the time frame, I mean, for, I mean, the different contributions of the agency. So with this, I conclude on the EASA presentation. Of course, I mean, your questions are more than welcome.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Actually, for the question and answers, we are starting now the session. So we are inviting everyone online to put your question, and also in the room you can use Slido. So maybe Marine, if you could put the QR on the screen again. You have it online also on the meeting chat. So we will gather the different questions through Slido. You can also vote. Already displayed the questions, so we can treat it in the order of appearance. Thank you, Marine. Including also questions about EASA participation coming from the latest slides that Emmanuel was presenting. So if I go then to Slido. The first question is about the batteries. So it's mentioning why battery development has been excluded from the hybrid electrical regional airplane scope, given that the batteries are essential for flight test. So maybe I will leave here Sebastian, but I will start. But battery development has been included as part of the FTA topics, and actually the topic is about the development of a battery capable of being integrated in the aircraft concept. So it's not an exclusion; it's a focus on the FTA topics of this specificity, that indeed we see that there is still room to further develop the technologies in a sense where we think our technical committee thinks, our SAB board also thinks. I don't know if you want to complement something else, Sebastian. Next question is about the FTA. What is the expected consortium size for FTA activities? Also, since it is the first time such a call is designed, what is the admission rate that you reckon? So, well, first, we are not putting any criteria about the size of the consortium for the topics for the FTA of the large-scale projects. Nevertheless, of course, with a reduced scope with respect to the large projects, we would expect maybe a smaller consortium, but there is not a definition of what is the best number. We cannot say the best number is 10 participants, is 20 participants. From what our experience in Clean Sky 2, yes, I would expect more than 5 for sure, around 10, something like that. But there is not a number for the consortium. What is important is what we showed before, that the consortium is having the adequate technical capabilities to assess the topic conditions and the technology evolution that is requested in the topic condition. And this is what will be assessed by the expert independently of the number of participants. But of course, it's important that you include in these participants a diverse ecosystem of participants. We were mentioning newcomers to the aerospace sector in order to be able to promote this connection that we of technology development that we may have from other sectors and to integrate into the aerospace sector. So this is something that the experts will evaluate, but they will not evaluate the number of participants in the consortium. And then admission rate, I don't know if I understand adequately what is meant. Maybe it's about the number of winning proposals, but it's part of the topic criteria is maximum one winning proposal per topic. depending also on the quality of the proposals that we receive. I think I mentioned it there in the presentation. The expert may identify quality proposals for some of the FTA topics that will be recommended to put in a reserve list for our governing board to consider if they want to expand this assignment of topics of proposal, but it's up to one winning proposal per topic. Then maybe I can take some questions from the audience here. So here you can raise your hand if you have any question. Yes, Catherine.
Just taking the opportunity for the question on FTA and EASA involvement. How do you look on that? So can you elaborate a little bit more, because it's a little bit different compared to the other topics on one hand, and second, having EASA as a partner, is that mandatory or not?
For the FTA topic in particular, you are mentioning.
In particular, the second
Yes.
topic on the FTA, so to speak, more clearly.
So as it was presented in the slide pack, for the FTA, it's not mandatory to have the EASA service contract participation. So it's up to the consortium to identify if the EASA activities are required for the FTA. And in order to define this certification roadmap, but it's not part of the topic criteria as per the large scale projects where we are asking a certification roadmap, how this certification roadmap can be achieved, with which participation of EASA, which budget of EASA. So for FTA, you don't, it's not mandatory that you consider that. I don't know if Emmanuel wants to complement more. Maybe he's muted, Marin. Maybe can you check if Emmanuel is not muted, please?
Yeah, no, I'm online. Yeah, for FTA, obviously, I mean, that was already explained by Maria. There's no specific requirement to involve EASA. But we understand that there's potential interest to get, I mean, our views on specific developments or the preparation of future products. So in a sense, I mean, you can contact us and we will assess, okay, how best we can support, I mean, the airworthiness activities under the FTA projects.
So it's not a requirement, and it will not be penalized in the evaluation of the proposal if the EASA contribution is not there, if I can be more clear.
Hello, thank you for all these connections. Estivali from CAC Energy One, a research center devoted to materials for energy storage. Do you plan to have more FTA projects in the future?
Well, first, as Bruno was already commenting, this is the first time that we are launching this mechanism. Actually, it has been a mechanism that we have defined with our stakeholders what could be better. So we are testing the mechanism. That's why the volume of funding is limited to 15 million. Is call-free. So depending on how the mechanism is progressing, we will define for call 4 and call 5 what is the amount to be allocated by the FTA. So yes, it's planned to have further FTA in call 4 and call 5. The volume of it is what still needs to be defined, depending also on the different technology priorities for this course. So I think you want to complement.
In fact, FTA is the first time that we are initiating this in order to widen the capabilities in the program. What is important to bear in mind is that FTA is not a technology investigation alone, it's a technology avenue supporting the aircraft concept. And so back to your question, Kathleen, on certification, for me, what is important is FTA should not contact EASA on a standalone basis. You can if you want, so we cannot preclude, but you should not contact EASA. You should go through the end users who are at the end, in fact, the prime users of such a technology on board the aircraft. And as we are trying to do in the way the topics are constructed, we want to channel all certification requirements through the aircraft concept and for type certificate holders. So and this is the feedback we receive from EASA. Please try to streamline the approach and try to respect the way we are certifying products through type certificates. And so this is more or less the approach. And back to your question, as long as we are successful on FTA, we'll further develop this approach. We have provisioned 35 million euros for the next 2 calls. How many topics will emerge in call 4? We don't know yet. It will depend, first of all, on how successful we are. Are there any new topics which are emerging, and how far we can better align with the different type of concepts?
Yes, well, sorry, we are new in this in Clean Aviation with large experience on battery, but not in this specific call. For the end user, they must be the ones that they belong to Clean Aviation. They have to be for sure compulsory.
When we talk about end users, again, the FTA are there to support the maturation of technologies linked to the aircraft concept. So the end users are primarily the aircraft concept owners. They can be, in fact, some large OEMs as well, who are not necessarily aircraft concept owners, but nevertheless, who are the one embarking such a technologies onto a future product. So yes, they should be member of Clean Aviation.
Thank you.
We can continue to the slide room. So one question on the top is it possible for Clean Aviation to share a contact point person for each previous project given by large company in order to introduce different SMEs? Well, here what we can inform you and advise you is that as part of our website, the different Clean Aviation projects from Call 1 and Call 2 are depicted. Several of them have a website, also maybe a mailbox. So we recommend that you have a look to that. You will see the big players, so the ones that you are also tiers of these big players. Is we can recommend that you contact them for the ones that you see a link with your technologies. And also you can send us an email to our functional mailbox on your interest to contact it with some projects, and we can check internally with the projects that we cannot share because of personal data reasons, the full list of coordinators from Call 1 or Call 2. Another question about the FTA is about a call deadline. Can a station in the FTA call deadline be expected? So we are not planning any extension on the deadline of the 2 months preparation. Actually, we have also planned and booked for the evaluation of the FTA during May and June with the different experts. This is a process that so it's quite fixed with the commission. So we are not planning any extensions. Otherwise, all the evaluation timeline and grant signature timeline will not match with our targets for the year. Another one is, can coordinators have a partner who takes care of communication dissemination, project management, etc., or is that also not allowed? Well, actually, there are 2 aspects here, and maybe my legal colleagues will complement. But one thing is to have one beneficiary that is taking care of communication dissemination action and exploitation actions, that is organizing conferences, that is taking care of recording the different patents or peer-reviewed documents that are generated by the consortium. So this is a standard practice that we have in some of the grants, even with a dedicated work package, with our package lead taking care of these activities. Another thing is about what are the coordinator tasks. So the coordinator remains with the responsibility of performing the coordinator task. So it's the one that is in charge of checking and evaluating the different contributions from different beneficiaries, and there is some rules about that. Maybe we have even a question and answers already published about that, but if not, we can include it to be more precise about this, because the coordinator still cannot subcontract or delegate another beneficiary the coordinator responsibilities. So this has to be within the coordinator role.
No, it cannot be subcontracted nor delegated. What we're going to do in the Q&A, so we're going to publish, I don't think it's published yet, but in call 2, we have certain delays to finish the grant agreement preparation, the signature, because we received these approach from the pre-selected proposals, where they were actually subcontracting quite a lot of these core coordination tasks to subcontractors, so other third parties, and so that is not allowed, and it's not allowed also simply not only because the grant agreement says so. It's also a risk that the consortia run in case an audit. Is that if an auditor comes afterwards, let's say ex post audit, and checks these activities on the technical side and sees that actually these coordination tasks have been carried out not by the coordinator itself, these would be considered as ineligible afterwards, and that's a risk that you also run. So in the Q&A, we would also publish something that we proposed for call 2 projects to add a certain sentence specifying that none of these tasks will be subcontracted to any other party. And this is something we will propose in the Q&A that you add in case it is pre-selected to the grant, to the description of the actions.
Thank you, Pablo. I don't see any question here on the site, so we'll keep going with the slide. My research area focuses on electric and hybrid propulsion system. How can it get involved in your project? Well, it's not our project, is your project. So you have to be able to engage with other partners to engage with a consortium, as is the same type of answer I gave before. We can help in providing visibility on the ongoing projects, but now you have to focus on the content from the topic description and to use your network and your in order to provide the adequate technical competencies for what is requested for the topics description for call 3. Another question about FTA, in particular the FTA 03. End user is needed in the consortium. Also, is development of 200 kilowatt or DC definitive. I don't know if I understand the wording, but so first, end user is needed for the 3 FTA topics. It's a new element that has been introduced in order to secure the exploitation path of the FTA technologies with the aircraft concept. Also, it's a way of simplifying the certification aspect, as Sebastian was mentioning before. And then for the more, sorry, it's moving. For the more technical question, maybe I need Sebastian or even I see Vincent on the room, but the development of 200 kilowatt and DC-DC is definitive. Don't understand exactly the question. I don't know if you understand the question, Vincent. Vincent says no. So if you can write a different question because we don't understand the wording. Okay, so there is another question again about running projects and how can we contribute. Is the same answer I gave before. Are cargo UAVs eligible as aircraft in any of the topics or mostly commercial aircrafts? Do all topics except fast track need KIU members? So about the first question, the aircraft concept were presented by Sebastian at the beginning of the presentation, and as we are putting in the topic conditions, the aircraft concept needs to be aligned with our strategic research and innovation agenda. So you have a description of the topics in the different documents that are provided, and this does not include UAVs at all, as you have seen. We are targeting for impact for a 30% reduction of the greenhouse gases. We can only do that addressing the commercial aircraft sector. That is more than half of the current emission coming for aviation. The other 45% is coming for the long range. So our main mandate as a Clean Aviation Joint Undertaking is to reduce emission, and UAVs are not. They are a very minor contribution to it, so it's not our focus. And this do all topic except fast track need KIU members? 1.5, yes. So the question is if could we have an FTA topics without members, I think. We don't need, no? It's confirmed. Yes, we don't need for FTA. Then end users. End user listed up in front of, end user list up front the proposal for FTA means they have to be part of the consortium with a budget or a letter of support for an advisory board. Okay, so I think it was explained by Bruno quite well, but I will try to repeat. So our expectation is that the end user is being part of the consortium as an associate partner. What does it mean? It's a beneficiary with no funding. Of course, you will have to define and agree that with the end user, but this is the way that we see that is more lean for the FTA topic, being part of the consortium as a beneficiary. And as a beneficiary with zero funding or very, very reduced funding. This is also the message that we have passed to our members. And if this is not done in that way, that will they will need to include additional agreement with an end user and so on, that we see that is much more complex. So the expected introduction of the end user in the FTA consortium is being an associate partner, so a beneficiary with no funding. Another question is about why FTA and other calls doesn't have the same deadline, given that both dates are so soon. As explained at the beginning, FTA mechanism is a new mechanism that we have introduced in order to reduce the time to grant signature. To do so as well, we have simplified the application forms. You will see when you download the different forms for FTA, and also as explained here today, we have simplified the different sections that you have to report. In particular, also the financial tables have been heavily simplified. Also the different criteria that you have to include in the FTA to show the excellence and impact has been also reduced. So that's why we have reduced 1 month for the preparation and submission of the proposal for FTA in order to have a grant signature earlier than the standard call-free topics. Another question about end users. So the question is, are US end user accept, sorry, it's moving. Are US end users accepted as partners with in-kind contribution? Well, first, in-kind contribution, I will mention, is the contributions that are given by our members. So Clean Aviation members that can contribute with additional activities to our program. So this is a different category, and that for end users, I think we put in the slide the definition. So end user is an European-based manufacturer, integrator that has the capability to design and manufacture in Europe. They have the capability to be able to develop this design and manufacturing in Europe. Then I don't know if I understand this starting of the question, because it said in the draft work program. I don't know what's draft.
Yes, the preliminary publication.
Okay, the pre-publication. Okay. Okay, the pre-publication. In the draft work program, some end users' names were listed for FTA topics, but they are missing from the final document. Do we need to include them as end user? So the pre-publication documents and information was the best information that we had at that time, that we wanted to make public at this stage, also to help the community, also the non-members community, to understand what are the different topics, to start preparing the different consortium, and to give a bit more of time to this thinking and how can you contribute and can you form the consortium that will help these FTA large-scale projects, ACA topics. But during this, when we pre-public, there were also some consultations still ongoing that we have to finalize, including our stakeholders and also the EC Commission services. And in the end, it was decided not to include a nominal list. So the end user list, you have to take the latest documents as a reference, not the pre-published document. Actually, they are not longer in our website, these documents, in order not to create confusion. So you don't need to have this list of end user as mandatory for the call topic. I see the rephrasing of the battery question is coming. In FTA 03, it is specified 200 kilowatt DC-DC as one of the expected outcomes. Is it fixed and definitive? People involved in the writing of the call text don't recall this exact wordings.
Was it charge of the battery? I'm sorry.
Okay, we will check and see if we can answer by written. Can organizations from associated countries, for example, UK, apply for funding? So yes, actually, this is linked one of the slides my legal colleagues were mentioning with the associated countries. So they can apply for funding. It's different between the associated countries and the transitional agreement that Pablo was explaining quite in detail for Switzerland. So for the associated partner, indeed, they can be part of the consortium, and they can apply for funding. So there will be another beneficiary with the funding allocation and so on and so forth. And what you have to take into account more with care is this transitional agreement situation for some of the countries. I remember Switzerland, and I cannot remember the other two. I think North Korea and but then if you, these ones, what we are recommending is that they are part as beneficiary of the consortium, hoping that the transitional agreement for Switzerland will be signed before of the grant signature. So then they will be entitled to the funding as other associated partners, and then will be contributing to the consortium as other EU partner. Okay, another one is how should we add the contribution of an US company or facility? Sorry, how should we add the contribution of US company or facilities part of our group to our proposal? Subcontracting, linked third parties, or something else? It's about cost, I think, definition.
I think it depends on the nature of activities that will be performed. So one or the other, really depending on what is the technical activities and contribution expected by these US affiliates. So hard to provide a clear answer without knowing that information in advance.
I think the answer was depends on the type of activities you are expecting this company to contribute to the action. Any question on the yes?
Maybe a little bit about technical nature. What about the IPRs and access to the pre-existing know-how as a start of the activities in FTA? Is the end user in charge with this problem? Is there a practical way of dealing with this type of need of information?
We are not expecting to have a high integrated cooperation as we have in Call 1 and Call 2. So that's why we presented the cooperation agreement. That is the legal framework that we have to do these exchanges for Call 1 and Call 2. And it's the way to manage also the IPR through the different projects. We were not expecting FTA needs to enter in this cooperation agreement. And this will be covered through the end user, the top level requirements or specification that are set to the FTA are coming from the end user. If it's needed, then I think there will be the way of they will have to go for the cooperation agreement inclusion that we were not expecting because it will be extending or complicating the interaction of it.
FTA by nature are supposed to be self-standing projects, so you don't rely on IP which are external. If your question is that in case you want to exchange data with the end users and we're providing your inputs, as long as the end users become a participant as associated party in the grant agreement, they are part of your consortium agreement, and as such you have all the IP mechanism in place to exchange data.
The participant.
Thank you very much. I'm Frederic Martins from Zaval Innovation. I will maybe expand a bit on the FTA 03 question, which is, are AC-DC converters out of the scope for this project? And is it a matter of priority considering the budget and timeline, or is this planned to be funded by a different vehicle?
You mean batteries with a different scope? That is what is currently defined in the topic, or can you rephrase your question, please?
Yes, so in the topic, it specifically defines that a component, which is a DC-DC converter, is to be developed. But airplanes also have DC-AC converters depending on what needs to be powered. And so are these out of the scope for this project?
Including costs for a converter if it's out of the scope. Sorry, I did not understand your question. I don't know if you guys. FTA 03.
We don't have in the room the person having written this one. We will answer it.
So we will take this question and then we will reply in written. Thank you very much.
My name is Elena Maneiro. I wanted to elaborate a bit more regarding the previous question. So for the end users in the fast track topic, are they supposed to be in charge of exploiting all the results from the project in exclusivity terms? I mean, do they expect to do that? because there is a difference between being a requirement or probably they want that. So do you have any insight on that?
First of all, there are no exclusivity in terms of exploitation, and you are supporting the maturation of the different demonstrators. And as long as, in fact, you are capable to support their route, afterwards, there is nothing which, and this will be regulated, by the way, by the consortium agreement, which define the way to exploit the IP rights, either foreground, background information, and this is where you will define the terms and conditions. So there is nothing different as compared to any project. What is important is the end users is participating in your project as an entity joining without any funding in order to, first of all, interact with you, to have all the IP regime in place to exchange data, and to be in capacity really to work together. No exclusivity, no.
Sorry, because usually when somebody participates without receiving funding, they ask for some exclusivity.
No.
Not the case.
You are free to exploit afterwards. And again, the way you will define the joint foreground is up to you to negotiate this with them.
Another question about the aircraft concept, but it's the same as I answered before about the UAVs. So the same applies to blended wing only design for aircraft, as I explained for the UAVs. FTA 01. But there is not a question. So the person that wrote that one is Estivaliz. So please, if you can rephrase, because it's not a question. Then there is another question that I think we already addressed about if we have additional plans for FTA calls. So are there plans for more small projects like FTA calls in the future? Given that SME struggle with 35 million, then 100 million projects without having contact large OEMs. I think we mentioned that before about the call 4 and call 5 inclusion. Then for FTA, if there is any specific recommended or expected consortium size, I have already explained that one. And in the expected outcomes, can you please elaborate on potential synergies? Well, synergies is about, there are two elements here again. One is about the expected outcomes from the development that then you will have to consider also the exploitation path together with the end user. And another thing is about potential synergies that we identify. Maybe you are already investigating this technology in other national programs, regional funding, or also other horizontal Europe or other funding activities. So this is about the type of synergies we would like to see that you refer in the proposal. Can Clean Aviation members participate in FTA proposals in roles other than end user and receive funding? So the answer is yes. There is no topic criteria that is forbidden this to happen. There is a condition that is relieving a bit of this inclusion of members, as the in-kind of 1.5 is not part of the FTA condition, but members can join as a beneficiary with funding as part of the proposal if deemed inadequate at the consortium. Let me see if I can understand this question. What based exactly means
EU-based.
in the fast track topic?
EU-based.
The European-based in the phrase. Okay. Does it mean the headquarters have to be in the EU, or can also be a delegation branch?
Must be European based, not just in very formal terms. When we look at what European base means, we look at the R&I competencies and manufacturing in Europe. So it's not just a formalism to basically have a sort of, empty shell operational thing in Europe, while actually things are done on the other side, of the world. So it is really an important requirement to be assessed carefully. So European base really means European base in terms of R&I competencies and manufacturing as well. And exportation as well is also another important aspect that needs also to be detailed in the proposal. Yeah.
Another question about batteries. How can we have clarity on what is meant by different battery cells? For me, sorry, I'm skipping this question because it's too.
I can take it if you want.
You understand the question because it's not a full question for me. Something.
Yeah, but use the mic. Please.
Yeah, so this one I understand is about the FTA01 topic on the battery. This is an FTA topic, so we decided to keep it quite open and exploratory. So there is no imposed solution on which type of cells and chemistries should be used. There are some KPIs which are described in the topic, but then it's up to you to propose what is the adequate chemistry or type of cells which could answer the requirements. So this is open.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
And what type of consortium partners can provide in-kind contribution to proposal? The members of the CAIU, you have the list of members in our website. Is there a need of means of compliance? No. Memorandum of cooperation, sorry. The acronyms in the aeronautic words many times means different things. So is there a need of memorandum of cooperation to be signed between the member state and CAIU in order to apply for these calls? No. You have to be a legal entity in the system with all this peak that has been explained by my colleagues before. So you are you are one entity in the Horizon Europe that are eligible to funding in order to be eligible to receive this funding as part of the consortium as a beneficiary. Again, about aircraft concepts, I'm skipping the other ones. So also lighter than airships is the same. Should we create a consortium? Yes, it's the main aim of before you submit a proposal. This one I don't understand very well, but it's about again member states or CAIU members. So to be clear, again, our memberships, the members list is on our website. So when we are saying members, it's not about member states or countries. It's about the members that are part of our joint undertaking, that are the industries, RTOs, universities from Europe, and you can have the detailed list on our website. So you don't need to you don't need to be a member to be eligible. You can be a non-member, but also we don't have memorandum of cooperation of signature with member states. So if you are part of a member states, we don't have like signatures with cooperation with member states. So it's not a problem. You have to be an European legal entity as per the rules explained before, or an associated partner, so as per the rule explained before. SAF producer, there's a question about SAF. So there is nothing in our top topics about SAF production. Is there a target for external evaluator regarding the percentage of new and previous evaluators involved in the past Clean Aviation calls. There is no targets. We are following the guidance for the experts allocation as per Horizon Europe rules, and this is not including any targets. There is only some recommendation to have higher renovation rate with the expert involved in the calls that we are also applying. And we are already at 1. We have very few, only 4 questions to go. FTA, yes, has a different structure than the standard calls, because the question is about if the structure of FTA call is different from the other proposal. Yes, so please refer to the slides that we shared today that also are clear on the simplification that are included for the FTA. Another one is too technical, so no link to the call launch, so I will skip. And one question about EASA. Is EASA subject to the non-profit rule and all the other grant agreement provisions dealing with eligible costs, control, ex-post audit, and etc.? Well, EASA is contributing as a third party in kind contribution for the other provisions. We want to clarify, or we take the question and we clarify later. And yeah, that was the last one. Any question here on the room? So we have finished the info days of today. Thank you for coming. I wish you found it informative. We will put all the slides on our website, and also we will release the question and answer new version by the 20th of March, including the relevant questions from today and also the additional ones that we will receive through our mailbox. And now we have also ordered some sandwiches for the ones that you are here on Brussels, so you have some lunch before you head back to your premises and your offices. So thank you for coming.